Hello and Happy New Year, I guess. I'm actually filming this on January 4th, so we're 4 days into 2020, a very exciting year for Japan because, of course, Tokyo 2020. And so I realized in less than 3 months, some of you who watch my videos will be going to Japan for the first time and probably really excited and confused and scared and all of these emotions, which you really should just let go because trust me, once you get there, you'll start to just realize how amazing Japan is if you make it. Now, as you can see by the title, this is part 2 of a previous video I made about working with Interac. Now, when I made that video, I had a lot of things in my mind and I really should have made a whole list, but then after I made it and posted it, stuff came back to me, so I'm like, you know what, let's give as much more information as possible so people know what they're getting into if you're going to work with Interac in March, if you're going there in March. And let me just start the video by saying the first video I posted, immediately someone commented and said how their experience with Interac was so bad and how I'm lying. And I just like to say, just because your experience was terrible doesn't mean others' experiences will be as terrible. And I cannot speak about experiences I haven't had. So if I didn't have a bad experience, I'm not going to speak about it. If I know others who have had a bad experience, I'm not going to speak about it either. They need to go and make videos and talk about their own experience. I'm not going to do that because I don't know what situation they were in. I don't know exactly what happened to them, but I know what exactly happened to me. And so this video is about me, my experience, and I'm giving you information I have learned while working with Interac. So if anyone else who is working with Interac now or worked with Interac and you had a terrible experience and you want to come and write your comments down below, go right ahead. But just want to let you know, I do not care because you can put that information out there for others to hear, but this is information from my perspective and you can't change my perspective to suit yours just because I guess you want me to join the We Hate Interac Club. It's not gonna work because I had a good experience with them. Can't hate something you had a good experience with. But anyways, I do have some points about working with Interac that might affect other people, so I'm going to bring those up, and then other good points too. So overall, again, my experience with Interac was good. But you know, because people like to be negative on the internet, let's start with a bad point of working with experience. Bad point with working with Interac, and that would be that they don't pay pension. Now, I've mentioned things about pension system in Japan before in 2 other videos. One were about pension exemption and one about when you return, how to get your pension refund. And what I did mention was that Interac doesn't pay your pension directly. Well, some contracts. They do have some persons on contracts where they would deduct it automatically from your salary. But if you are like on my contract, which name I cannot remember up to this day, then you're responsible for paying your own pension. So what that means is you have to remember, and if you don't and the government wants their money, that's on you. It's not really Interac's fault because they do tell you to pay it, but that's just something you need to know. With other companies, they will deduct it. So it's like between 16,000 yen upwards. And by the way, anything I quote in monetary thing will be in yen because I don't know how to do the conversion. I'm not American, and Jamaican dollars is about the same with the yen when you look at it that way. Okay, so yeah, so that's the pension thing. And also healthcare, you don't get healthcare with some contracts, I think all contracts. With Interac, you don't get healthcare. So what that means is you have to sign up to the National Healthcare Program and make your own payments versus other companies that might give you that. And the reason being for this is that you're not technically a full-time employee. Technically, it's a whole complicated system. But anyway, so that's a bad point. Pension and healthcare are not covered, even though when you work with Interac. Now, a good point is that you get so much vacation time. With other companies like the international schools that you might decide to switch and work with, or Peppy Kids Clubs or Eikaiwas, you don't get that many vacation days. I think you get 10 for the year. Technically, Interac only gives 10 for the year too, But the difference is because you're working with a school, like a junior high school, an elementary school, or a high school, when they're on break, you're on break too, because they're not going to pay you for going to school and not working. But basically, you have summer break, the first, the 2 weeks in August, you get summer break, about 2 weeks. And what that is for Obon celebration and just a break from school. So you actually get that too if you're working with an Interac, because there's no students to teach. Technically, there's no students to teach from, in the high school situation, there are no students to teach from the last week in July, but you still have to go to school and kind of just hang out and make lesson plans. But after that, you have August free. So with your 10 days of vacation that you get, you also get those additional days. In winter, it's the same thing. You get about 2 weeks of no school. So it's not deducted from your vacation days that you can take for other things. What you find is when you're working with Interac, you have a lot of vacation time, so you can do a lot of traveling, which many of my friends do. So every year they just travel all over Asia, go to Europe. I didn't do any of that because why didn't I do? Missed opportunities. But anyways, so that's a good point of working with Interac. Lots of vacation time. Now, a bad point is, like I said, I was talking about from my experience before, which means I got a great contract where I worked at a senior high school. This is rare for Interac, very, very rare. Most of the contracts for Interac are for junior high schools and elementary schools, which is a lot of work. While I only had a few classes in the day, so I think on an average week I only had 4 classes a week. No, 4 or 5 or 6 for the whole week. People have 4 or 5, 6 classes every day. So if you get a junior high school or an elementary school contract, it's gonna be a lot of work, and I'm so sorry. My experience wasn't like that, but you can do it because most other people do it. And you might have situations, especially for the elementary school, where it's just really tiring, having to take care of the kids, which is why before Interac hired you, they asked you, can you work with kids? Do you think you would work well with kids? Because kids are a lot, especially Japanese kids. They're so precocious and smart and sweet, but sometimes it's a lot because I taught them for my part-time job. It's a lot, but you can do it. But yeah, it might be a bad point if you're not the type who likes hard work. But many people I know, they manage. It's stressful for the first couple months, but then they just get so used to it and they fall in love with the babies and the junior high school kids, and they just like it a lot. So that's a bad and a plus. I don't know. So a good point, however, is even though you're working 6 classes a week, 6 classes a day sometimes, if you're working in a junior high or an elementary school, the good thing is that you have regular working hours. So you will work from Monday to Friday from 7:30. If you're working elementary school, I think they finish early around 2. And if it's junior high, around 3. I would finish work at 4:30 every day working at a senior high school. So you have regular working hours 5 days a week. And what that means is you have the weekends off and you're free and you can do whatever you want on the weekends. And plus those holidays, because with Interac, you don't work on public holidays, major holidays. Other companies, you might have to come in and work on those days. So you get to travel, you get to relax, you get to enjoy yourself, you get to go to dental appointments if you want. So it's really convenient in that, where it's many other Ikaiwa or ALT jobs, you don't have that kind of well, not ALT jobs. ALT jobs are always 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. But other jobs like Peppy Kids Club, Ikaiwa jobs, or which other ones? I think some international schools, they have activities on Saturdays that you have to come in for, or just regular what do you call it? English conversation schools. Then you'd have to deal with working on Sundays and Saturdays and shifts changing and all of that. And for me, I wasn't about that life. I was happy for the 9 to 5, which turned to 9 to 10 o'clock in the night when I got my part-time job. But that's a benefit. That's a plus. Now, I didn't mention this in the other video because it's something that I kind of put out of my mind every time I think about it, because it was just one of the most stressful things for me. And it was stressful in the sense that your contract isn't guaranteed. And this doesn't matter if it's with Interac or any company, any what do you call it, any company where you have a contract with the Board of Education to provide ALTs for the school system. Any company like that, it's not guaranteed that you will get the contract the next year. So every year Interac would have to bid for the contracts, and most of the time we get it back depending on the performance of the teachers. So this is why it's so important. It is so important that you set a good example as an ALT working with Interac. And if you have friends who are kind of slacking off, not doing their best, not managing their classes, or just not even trying, you need to motivate them to try, or motivate them to find a job somewhere else for the next year. Because if you like working with Interac, the behavior of another ALT in your BOE can affect you having that contract next year. So every year it was like, it was hard for me to see new ALTs come in and they weren't working as hard, and knowing if they don't get their act together, I might lose my job, or Interac might lose a contract, and then I don't know what to do. So every year around March, end of March, we'd be like holding our breaths, anticipating, waiting to hear if we got back the Board of Education. Because you won't be fired completely or outright. You can either join the company that gets the contract and stay. For example, if another company got the contract for Wakayama, I just probably join it and stay in Wakayama because I love Wakayama. Or Interac would just transfer you to somewhere else where they got the contract. So if you're someone who likes change, and then it's no big deal, you just go where the next place is. But for like me, I don't like change. That's why I was in Wakayama for 4 years and didn't move. So for me, it was like a little terrifying. So it's not a certainty that every year you will still get back the contract. But that's why it's also possible for you to move. So if you move to an area that you didn't like, or it was too countryside, or you just want to go to a bigger city where there are more opportunities for like a part-time job, or just for stuff that you're interested in, then that's why there's an opportunity to move, because the contracts switch over to somewhere else sometimes. But for me, that was a bad point. I didn't hate that. It wasn't 100% secure, and I didn't appreciate being scared the crap out of every March. So nah. But anyways, I think those were the extra stuff that I had to talk about with Interac. Like I said, from the beginning when I arrived, they took care of me in the sense that my apartment was already set up. My apartment was a Leo Palace, so it had internet. The only thing was that first week where they were basically, go forth, child, and be by yourself. I remember that those first 2 days where I didn't have a phone, so I couldn't contact anyone. I had my phone, but Wi-Fi wasn't readily available outside of my apartment. So if I was on the road trying to do the city hall stuff or getting the phone stuff, it was just so frustrating. With Interac, sometimes you get, I think I mentioned this in one of my first videos ever, sometimes you get I forgot their names, someone who is already there who volunteers to lecture on the newcomers, and that really helps a lot because they'll have access. So what I did when I was leaving, I didn't even contact Interac today. I just contacted the persons who were coming, and I told them, hey, if you want someone to help you when you arrive to set up the apartment and stuff, let me know. And I think that made a difference for them. I would have helped them more if I was staying, but I actually had to leave. Why are the dogs barking? Anyways, yeah, I actually had to leave a few days later. So someone like that helps, but without that kind of assistance when you just get there, it's really frustrating, and you kind of lose your mind a little, and a lot of persons start emailing Interac for every little thing. And I understand why, because that was like me. But I figured stuff out as soon as I got my cell phone and I had internet connection and data. So once you get your phone set up, you don't have to rely on Interac too much. But they really do kind of just train you a little and kind of push you over the edge to go do your best by yourself. But that's why I said this is the type of job opportunity for someone who's mature in character, meaning They don't have to depend on others. They can figure out things on their own. So if you are not like that, you have to look into yourself and you have to ask yourself, do I depend on people a lot? Can I figure out things? Am I ignorant to many things that I don't understand and that scares me and I give up quickly? Then don't work for Interac. Don't do it. But if you're the type of person who likes a challenge, who sees this as an opportunity to grow as a person, then definitely work with Interact, because you'll be on your own basically a lot. They do not spoon feed you. You really have to just adapt quickly and work hard. But other than that, don't be scared. I'll have more videos about things that will help you once you arrive and what to do. For me, it's kind of weird, really weird, making videos about Japan, even though I really haven't been there in 9 months, over 9 months. That's so depressing for me. But some of the knowledge is still valid, so I want to be able to help share it with people and help them in any way possible. Yeah. So right now, many of you are just preparing, getting ready, spending time with your family, packing, all that good stuff. So just relax and enjoy the time you have left in Jamaica. Jamaica. And get ready for your new life in Japan and Tokyo 2020. I kind of wish I stayed. No, because Tokyo 2020 is going to be in the summer and I hate the summer in Japan. Let me just warn you right now, summer in Japan is the absolute worst. You're going to die. But the rest of it is great, especially Sakura in the spring. So get ready. Enjoy yourself. Till next time. Bye.